March 2014, Russia sends military troops to Crimea. The malicious violation of international law against Ukraine and its citizens begins. As a result of such actions, the territory of Crimea is currently annexed, and 64 Ukrainian political prisoners have ended up in Russian prisons. At the moment, we are talking about 13 group and individual cases where so-called Russian judges use fictitious charges to torture Ukrainian citizens. There is no difference for the Kremlin who will be punished, regardless of whether they are totally inexperienced young men or reputable senior citizens. Famous directors are accused of committing acts of terrorism, and 17-year-old boys of training to carry out terrorist attacks. Moreover, Russian law enforcement officers have announced contests in which it is necessary to arrest as many Phantom Bandera proponents as possible. That's how the first wave of saboteurs appeared, then the second, and then the third. Ukrainians who actively participated in the events of Euromaidan became a scapegoat for the raging bulls of Russian lawlessness. Of course, in the verdicts, this topic was avoided under the guise of absurd accusation of espionage or appeals to separatism. The logic of the occupants is striking by its absurdity. People are condemned for taking part in peaceful rallies in Ukraine. People are condemned for protecting Ukraine's security. People are condemned for working as journalists in Ukraine. Sometimes, renouncing Russian citizenship is sufficient enough to be sentenced to 10 years in prison. Russian authorities relate to Crimean Tatar activists and their disobedience in another way. The Crimean Tatars' Muslim faith is the reason they are accused of religious fanaticism. Dozens of people have already been deprived of their freedom only for their nationality and worldview. Ukrainian political prisoners in Crimea have already been sentenced to a total of 184 years in maximum security prisons. The authorities of occupied Crimea are demanding another 375 years of total prison time for those prisoners still waiting for their sentence.